What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we're looking at another deck. This one specifically I call Dream Den because Lurrus of the Dream Den is our companion, and it's focused primarily around one card in specific, and that is Hateful Eidolon. Hateful Eidolon, if you're not familiar, is a 1/2 for 1 with lifelink, and whenever an enchanted creature dies, draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. And so the goal of this deck is to attach auras to our own stuff as well as our opponent's things, and let them die. So we have Archfiend's Vessel, or Archfiend's Vessel. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. The goal behind Archfiend's Vessel is, well, reanimate it one way or another. We have a couple of different ways we can do that. We have an opportunity to use our own enchantments on it to kill it if our Hateful Eidolon is online. And those enchantments being Mogus's Favor, which gives +2/-1, or Meyer's Grasp, which gives -3/-3, which ideally Meyer's Grasp is for our opponent's things, because there are a lot of creatures out there right now, like Kazundu Mammoth and Brushfire Elemental, Thieves Guild Enforcer, Ruined Crab, etc., that Meyer's Grasp can take out. And so we want to be able to have Hateful Eidolon online and then use Meyer's Grasp on our opponent's things. However, if our opponent doesn't have any creatures online, let's say we're going up against a control deck, we have an opportunity to Meyer's Grasp or Mogus's Favor, our own Archfiend's Vessel, to get it in the graveyard. Then we have an opportunity to bring it back out with the aforementioned Lurrus of the Dream Den, or Malakir Rebirth, which is a really cool ability where you choose a target creature, you lose 2 life, and then until end of turn that creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So if one of our creatures is about to die, we can hit it with Malakir Rebirth and it comes right back. It's a great way to protect Lurrus. It's a great way to trigger the Archfiend's Vessel and get the demon online, which happens when it gets reanimated out of the graveyard. And it's also a way to save valuable resources like Meyer Triton or Skyclave Shade, both of which are designed in this deck to provide a little bit extra value. In the case of Skyclave Shade, it's designed to put a lot of pressure and be hard to remove. It really pressures our opponent's life total and sticks around for a really, really long time, and when they do finally kill it, it just comes back. So Skyclave Shade is a great way to provide some pressure. Meyer Triton is kind of the opposite. It's more defensive because it has Death Touch, but it gains us life and it fills our graveyard, which is great. We ultimately do want cards in our graveyard so that we can leverage Lurrus, as well as Call of the Death Dweller, which is a sorcery that can return up to 2 target creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Then you put a Death Touch counter on one of them and then a Menace counter on one of them. Now that can be the same one that you put both counters on, which is pretty slick. That way, if we use Call of the Death Dweller to reanimate, say, Lurrus, it comes back with Menace and Death Touch. So not only is it back, it's back and better than ever, which is super duper fun. We also have Acquisitions Expert in here to add a little bit of hand hate, and it's also a permanent card that costs 2 or less, so we can recur it with Lurrus or with our aforementioned Malakir Rebirth or Call of the Death Dweller. So Acquisitions Expert fits nicely. It provides a little bit of hand hate. Now, we don't have any other party members in this deck, so Acquisitions Expert, it just forces our opponent to discard a card. However, if we can recur it, it can force them to discard multiple cards, and it's especially valuable later in the game when they're down to 1 card left in hand, because it just completely cuts them off at the knees. It just shuts them down. So I really like Acquisitions Expert within this deck. We also have Village Rites, which is a way to force a Malakir Rebirth loop on any one of our creatures. If we don't have access, if our opponent isn't killing our stuff for us, we can use Village Rites, which also allows us to draw quite a bit of cards, which is really nice, especially if we have Mogus's Favor and a Hateful Eidolon online. So as you can imagine, we can do something where we have, say, Mogus's Favor on an Acquisitions Expert, so making it a 3/1. We're able to attack, and then the moment they have a blocker that can shut that down, we can use Malakir Rebirth to sacrifice the Acquisitions Expert, bring it back immediately, draw 3 cards, 2 from Village Rites, 1 off of Hateful Eidolon, and then force them to discard a card as well when Acquisitions Expert comes back online. So little loops like that, little value loops, are really what this deck is all about, and the goal is to outgrind our opponent. Now in the sideboard, we also have Zoth Consumption and Mazemind Tome to kind of fill out the deck. Maze Mind Tome is here specifically because it's recurable with Lurrus of the Dream Den if it gets milled into our graveyard or if somebody manages to blow it up. But it's mainly here just to provide some great value with card selection as well as additional card draw if we run out of gas. So Maze Mind Tome is a fine selection or a fine addition because this is more of a tempo deck rather than an aggro deck, although it can do a pretty good impression of an aggro deck with Skyclave Shade and whatnot. And then Zoff Consumption, if we're able to provide a lot of pressure on our opponent's life total, it's a way to destroy them after they've stabilized, is ultimately what it's for. 99% of the time, we are going to play this out as a land, but in that 1% of situations where we just need to deal 4 more damage directly to our opponent, Zoff Consumption is a really fun way to do it. So that, to be honest, is more of a pet card than anything. So if you want to run a version of this list that does not have Zoff Consumption in it, I wouldn't be mad. But I enjoy it, and it has won me a couple of games. So it's, it has some potential. Malakir Rebirth also is a modal DFC, so we are going to play that out as a land a lot of the time. And you'll notice we only have 15 swamps and 2 Castle Locthwains, so we're only running 17 dedicated lands in this deck because we have Malakir Rebirth and Zoff Consumption. So in a lot of situations, and our mana curve is just very, very low. And so we don't need a lot of mana. This is a deck that can run perfectly fine on 3. If we can get 3 land down, we're going to be really happy most of the time. And if we get more, then we can sink it into things like Maze Mind Tome or multiple casts of Skyclave Shade with Kicker and whatnot. Then in our sideboard, we have Tormod's Crypt, just in case our opponent is leveraging their graveyard for anything, which, to be honest, is not super common in the meta these days, although with Lurrus, we're able to loop Tormod's Crypt pretty much indefinitely, so we can just completely deny our opponent a sideboard. So if we're going up against like a Rakdos escape deck or something to that effect, we can slot in Tormod's Crypt to deal with those graveyards. Deadweight is another addition of it functions alongside Meyer's Grasp if we are going up against a lot of decks that have small creatures. So against rogues or against the Gruul Adventure deck, a lot of the time Deadweight is going to come right into the main in order to, we're going to slot it in for games 2 and 3 in order to deal with those Brushfire Elementals and the 1/1s that enable the Lovestruck Beast to go off. So we have those. And my buddy JD's shooting me a note. Hey, what's up, JD? And then I forgot to turn on Do Not Disturb because I was recording, but that's totally cool. And then we also have Sorcerer's Spyglass, which is great if we're going up against a control deck that tops out with Ashiok, Nightmare Muse, or Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, because Sorcerer's Spyglass completely shuts them down. I've noticed there are a handful of control decks out there where Ashiok Nightmare Muse is the top end. Sorcerer's Spyglass just turns it off right out of the gate, and those decks oftentimes do not have a way to deal with artifacts. So Sorcerer's Spyglass in those matchups is clutch. And then Soul Shatter is another great way to answer. Another great answer for large planeswalkers like Ugin or Ashiok, but it's also a great way to answer really large, impressive creatures as well. So again, if we're going up against a Gruul Adventure deck and we just need to put on our control hat and really focus on removing threats, we can slot in Soul Shatter as a way of dealing with them. So I gotta say, all in all, this deck is a ton of fun. It's very versatile, and like I said, Hateful Eidolon is really the MVP of this deck. It is our card draw engine, and you get a lot for one. It combos nicely with Mogus's Favor, and all in all, it's just really tough to go wrong. So this is the deck, and let's go ahead and take it onto the ladder and see what we can do. All right, Black Cloud, let's do this. All right, so we've lost the die roll, but that's okay. This is a keepable hand. We got the Zoff Consumption. Hateful Eidolon, double Arcfiend's Vessels is delightful. I'm here for it. Let's keep this. So because we don't have any of our aggressive enchantments in our hand, I'm not going to throw out the Hateful Eidolon right away. I'm thinking that Arcfiend's Vessel is going to be the way to go. We're going up against Karuga. Nice. Good work, opponent. I respect this. Taking the Karuga challenge. I like it. All right, and they got green-black mana available. That's pretty darn good. Hello. I love the courteous hello. I'm all for it. All right, let's see. So from here, I'm thinking turn 2, I'm going to play out the Meyer Triton, and we'll see what goes to the bin Or we have an opportunity to throw out more Archfiend's Vessels and just apply quite a bit of pressure to our opponent's face, which seems pretty good to me. So let's do that, actually. The more I think about it, the more I'm cool with that. Especially because these are some of the most expendable creatures we could possibly ask for. Because if they die, we can just reanimate them later for demons. Ooh, pulling Karuga into hand right away. Our 4th Archfiend's Vessel. Yep, Shuffler's fine, everybody. Alright. Meyer Triton, let's go. I choose you. Hateful Eidolon and a Maze Mind Tome in the bin. I'm not mad at that. We can always bring the Maze Mind Tome back with Lurrus later. So, it seems pretty decent. Is our opponent getting stuck on land? Nope. That's good. They might be getting stuck on colors. Nissa, nice. Nissa of Shadowed Boughs is a criminally underrated card, if you ask me. I would highly recommend playing her if you're not already. It's just a good time. Alright, let's go ahead and pull Lurrus into hand. And we have access to enough damage. So let's go ahead and throw 5 at Nissa, 1 at the face. Boom. Up to 30 life. That feels pretty good, not gonna lie. Hateful Eidolon, I choose you. Let's go. Alright, so Lurrus is gonna be coming down next turn, depending on what we draw. If we draw into... Well, it'll also be interesting to see what our opponent does. If they just play out Karuga here, that's gonna be a feel-bad moment for them, for sure. Yeah, and Nissa, I mean, Nissa did pull 5 damage away from our opponent's face, so that's something. Sacrifice a creature? Yes. I would love to sacrifice my Archfiend's Vessel. Thank you, Clackbridge Troll. I appreciate you. Alright. Now it's Lurrus time. And because we were able to sacrifice our Archfiend's Vessel... Boom. All right, and so we also have Zoff Consumption here as a backup, which is going to be pretty nice. We've got a lovely little... Their Clackbridge Troll is seriously just a sack outlet for our Archfiend's Vessels. That is not the position they wanted to be in. But I'll take it, and it seems pretty decent, if you ask me. I kind of love it. I also just love the Clackbridge Troll. I got to say, I'm really digging our opponent's style here. Sacrifice another Archfiend's Vessel, because why not? Yeah, and our opponent's had enough. Okay, onward to game 2. So let's see, would it make sense for us to slot anything in here? You know, we saw Nissa, but we were able to deal with her pretty comfortably, so I don't feel like Sorcerer's Spyglass necessarily makes sense. Soul Shatter, they do have some pretty big creatures, so let's go ahead and slot that in. Soul Shatter in place of Meyer's Grasp, maybe? No, let's take out the Maze Mind Tome and 1 Call of the Death Dweller for 3 Soul Shatters. That seems like the best way to go. All right, let's see what happens next. Yeah, this is a different type of deck that we were not teched against. You know, we did not have tech in our sideboard to go up against this matchup. Soul Shatters it has the potential to be pretty good. But yeah, our Tormod's Crypts are useless. Our Sorcerer's Spyglass are useless in this situation. I mean, actually, Sorcerer's Spyglass maybe, because they might have some other Planeswalkers in there in addition to Nissa that we just didn't see in that matchup. Because with Karuga, they are restricted to permanents that cost 3 or more, and we know that, well, Planeswalkers are expensive, so there's a good chance that they have other Planeswalkers in there. All right, let's see what happens in game 2, shall we? Let's shall. All right, we got Mogus's Favor and Meyer's Grasp in the opening hand. That can kill Karuga between those 2 cards. We also have Skyclave Shade, which is hyper aggressive right out of the gate, so that feels pretty darn good. Yeah, we're definitely gonna keep this. And I'm thinking our turn 1 we're gonna play Malakir Rebirth down as a land because we don't have a good turn 1 anyway, so it coming into play tapped is not that big of a deal. Whereas making sure we have 2 and 3 available. Actually that swamp, yeah, I'll still do it. Drawing that swamp did change things a little bit. We had an opportunity to cast that out, or play it out. Well, and now we're getting more and more swamps. So getting rid of the Malakir Rebirth, that's a resource that we've lost now. I was kind of playing the odds, assuming that we weren't going to draw any more lands, and I was mistaken. So that could end up biting us, but we'll see. Oh, Acquisitions Expert in the bin. That's kind of a bummer, but not the end of the world. All right, so the Skyclave Shade is doing its thing, applying pressure to the face. You'll love to see it. Cultivate, it's a good card. It's a darn good card. Nothing wrong with that. Ooh, Archfiend's Vessel. You'll love to see it. All right, let's go ahead and throw out the Archfiend's Vessel, as well as another Meyer Triton. Let's gain a little bit of life. And interestingly enough, our opponent no longer has Karuga as a companion. That is... I just noticed that. That is an interesting... They modified their deck in some way, presumably pulling Karuga into the main deck. I'm really curious what we're going to see here. I wonder if they might be ramping up to Ugin, just because when in doubt, ramp up to Ugin. It's a tried and true strategy. It's really tough to mess up if you're just ramping up to Ugin. Nissa, alright. She's back again.
I am Zendikar's one true guardian.
Yeah, Nissa, great card. And this is going to apply a little bit of pressure to us now. Oh no, they're choosing to use her just to ramp. There's nothing wrong with that. Alright, Lurrus, you're up. Let's go ahead and go all out, except the Skyclave Shade and one of my Meyer Tritons. Oh. One to the face. One to the walker. And let's see, do they have any combat shenanigans for 3 or less in their hand? Potentially. We shall see. Erebos' Intervention, that certainly qualifies as combat shenanigans. And with that... Don't love that. So I'm actually going to Mogus's favor our Archfiend's Vessel, because I really want to pull it up with Lurrus next turn. So Erebos' Intervention, another criminally underrated card in my opinion. It can do a lot, and it did what it needed to do there. Yeah, the fact that it gives any creature -X till end of turn, that can also get around indestructible too, so that's just nice. Ooh! Ooh, Massacre Worm. That hurts. Oof, that hurts. That hurts real bad. Could have hurt a lot worse if I hadn't sacrificed our own little homie last turn, our Archfiend's Vessel. All right, that changes things a little bit because we are going to for sure Meyer's Grasp this now. All right. So we double Meyer's Grasp the Massacre Worm, get it gone. Skyclave Shade is back in the saddle. And now we do run the risk. They could just -5 Nissa to bring the Massacre Worm back, which would feel bad, man. But I don't know if they're going to see that line. They could also have another threat in hand. This is... Yep, okay. Looks like they're going to grab the Massacre Worm back. Or play out something from their hand. Let's see. Ooh, that's a big Clackbridge Troll. That's a big old Clackbridge Troll. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed. Ooh, followed by an Extinction Event on even. Single-sided board wipe before I get an opportunity to sack my creatures means Clackbridge Troll comes in completely uncontested. Hit me for 10. Ow. Ow, ow, ow. My face. My poor, poor face. Alright, this Meyer Triton is coming in for sure, because we need to gain a little bit of life, but most importantly, have a Death Toucher on board that can deal with that freaking troll. Alright. And we have Malakir Rebirth, so we can always bring it back, should they choose to remove it. Ooh, Titan's Nest! That was a card that I thought was going to set the world on fire, and it never really did. Alright, opponent, do you swing? Yeah, you do. You know you do. You know you wanna. Alright. Meyer Triton's coming down. Malakir Rebirth doing its thing. I do take 2 damage from that, which means I do take the full 10 damage, effectively, from Clackbridge Troll. Actually, I ended up taking more than I needed to that turn. But Meyer Triton is going to come back, going to gain us some life, and going to mill us a little bit. And sometimes you just got to get milled a little bit. Let's bring back Archfiends. because that's a demon, and we can kick our Skycleave Shade. Attack for 5, gain 3. Titan's Nest triggers, so they get to surveil 1. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, opponent. Did you draw anything that can deal with this? No, we got him. Woo! All right, this was a slick matchup. That was a cool deck our opponent was running. But we got there. You'll love to see it. All right, Steph943, let's go. Let's see what you got. And it's funny, actually. I was going up against Mill Rogues absolutely every other game for a long time, and they seem to have fallen out of favor, at least in my queue-ups, which I'm pretty grateful for, not going to lie. I don't know if that's the matchmaking or if I'm just getting lucky. Archfiend's Vessel, and now that we've got Village Rites in our hand, we're able to Malakir Rebirth, followed by Village Rites next turn, which means we're going to have a 5/5 Flying Demon on turn 2. Seems pretty D's. Seems real D's, as a matter of fact. And regardless of whether or not they block, we're doing that. And we can actually do both of those at instant speed, so there's no sense in doing them right now. We can just wait. All right, so we're not going to have the demon on turn 2, strictly speaking. We're going to have it on turn 3, but I'm cool with that. We're going to get poked for 1, except we're not. And Malakir Rebirth does bring the creature back in tapped, however, because the Archfiend's Vessel trigger exiles it and creates a new creature. It doesn't. This creature is not tapped, and so we are going to block that 1/1. Booyah! What you gonna do, buddy? All right, not gonna lie, that felt really good. That felt really good. Boom! 5 to the face. 5/5 in the air on turn 3. I'm not mad at that at all. That feels good. Feels good to be a gangsta, is what that is. Anyone else reminded of Office Space just now, or is that just me? Wish you knew that whole song so I could throw it down, except then I'd get DMCA striked and I'd be really bummed. Also, I feel the need to point out, I know I'm wearing the Superman shirt right now, and it's not because I actually believe that I am the Man of Steel, but it's actually because your boy was Jesus in a community theater production of Godspell many years ago. So that's what you're seeing here. So that gave me an excuse to buy the shirt. Because if you're not familiar, in the musical Godspell, Jesus wears a Superman shirt. That's the whole story there. All right, we're going to go ahead and swing out. Let's see. If they block one of our Archfiend's Vessels, we can hit it with another Malakir Rebirth and bring another demon into the mix, which would be pretty darn slick. If they choose not to, I can't blame them. They've learned their lesson, and they've learned it well. Acquisitions expert, I choose you. Let's go. So this is the mono green food deck, and I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty good about what we're doing to it right now. And the mono green food deck is actually a really solid deck right now. Oh, actually, the Archfiend's Vessel is a cleric. I had forgotten about that, so that actually does play into the party mechanic. I had completely forgotten about that when I was doing the deck tech. Oh, Great Henge, curse you! I gotta be honest, I'm really sick of this card. It's just so good. It's like way too good, if you ask me. Of course, if you'd rather not, I can't blame you. But if you were to ask me, I would say the Great Henge is like crazy good. And I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. Like, hot take, the Great Henge is good. Yeah, that's the kind of opinions and stunning commentary that you get when you're hanging out with HamHawks42. All right, what do we got? Another land, 4th land. I'm not mad at that. Do we have anything in the bin that we can actually pull out? Not at this point, but that's okay. First things first, we're swinging out because all of our stuff's expendable and our opponent is down to 9. So that feels pretty darn good. They've got the Witch's Oven. If they sacrifice if they sacrifice one of their creatures to the Witch's Oven, they will be able to resurrect the Feasting Troll King from their graveyard, which is pretty good. Wait a minute. I want to let this through. Normally, I would cast a Malakir Rebirth on the Archfiend's Vessel, but if I were to do that, they'd have the opportunity to sacrifice Lovestruck Beast, and I did not want to give them that chance. So let's cast out Meyer Triton. Mogus's favor, eh? We got our opponent down to 3. That feels pretty decent. Pretty decent, not gonna lie. So it would definitely be in their best interest to sack... Well, they could sack the Lovestruck Beast, resurrect the Feasting Troll King, or reanimate the Feasting Troll King, as it were. Oh, or just create a food token using the Gilded Goose rather than sacrificing anything. That way they get to maintain their Lovestruck Beast. That actually is probably the right call. Sacrifice those 3. They also get 3 Trail of Crumb triggers, which they can pay for, so that seems pretty good. They're choosing not to. That makes me a little bit nervous. They got some tricks up their sleeves, and I don't like to see that. Vivian, Monsters Advocate. That's pretty good. Pretty good. So the token comes into play.
Diversity is our greatest.
Fortunately, tokens don't trigger the Great Henge. I'm pretty grateful for that. And they don't have any flying blockers. And the Great Henge is tapped, which means they can't gain any more life. So we still... oh, but they've got a Reacher now. Derp-a-derp. Hey, let's see. Let's go ahead and just bring back that Archfiend's Vessel. Potentially a little late, but that's okay. I probably should have attacked first. That way some stuff would have died, and we would have had an opportunity to do some shenanigans with it. Let's swing everything to the face and see how they block. We also have Malakir Rebirth back, so if they block the Archfiend's Vessel or the Acquisitions Expert, we can just bounce it right back to the field. Meyer Triton's probably going to go through because they probably don't want to block a Death Toucher. Yeah. Now, here's the question. Do we want another demon with Archfiend's Vessel, or do we want to strip them of that last card in their hand? I think I want to strip them of that last card in their hand. So the Acquisitions Expert is going to be rebirthed. All right, Acquisitions Expert is coming back. And what do we get? Castle Garenbrig. Yeah, that's kind of anticlimactic, but that's okay. Another 3/3 beast. Nothing wrong with that.
Beauty lies in
I can respect it. Don't have to like it, but I can respect it. Now, do they start going on the offensive with the Feasting Troll King is the question. I think it'd be a little premature. Yeah. Trying to get some value out of that food is probably the right call. Get a couple more cards in your hand. With Trail of Crumbs. Another Feasting Troll King, which is considerably not... or notably not legendary. So that could hurt us pretty badly here. We shall see. And we have another Archfiend's Vessel in the bin. So we have an opportunity to bring Lurrus out and get that back online, which would give us a 3rd flying demon, which would be pretty good, not gonna lie. Yeah, our opponent's doing a good job of holding off here. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with how they're holding together. Oh, and the Feasting Troll King has Vigilance, so why not attack with it? I had completely forgotten about that. Ow, my face. All right, Meyer Triton, you are not attacking anymore. You're staying back for sure. Cool. All right, so we've got one Archfiend's Vessel in the bin. You know what I'm gonna do here? I think I'm actually going to Village Rights our Acquisitions Expert. Get it gone, and then proceed to reanimate both the Archfiend's Vessel and the Acquisitions Expert, and the Acquisitions Expert is going to have Menace and Death Touch. Seems pretty decent. Not mad at that. And we're going to force them to discard that Feasting Troll King. Couldn't help but notice they don't have 3 food, so they can't bring it right out of the graveyard. But, I mean, they'll get the food at some point, but hopefully that'll slow them down a little bit. And then we have another Acquisitions Expert in our hand. So we could cast it out, but they don't have any more cards, so it would just be another body on the field. I wish we had one more land so we could pull Lurrus to our hand. That would be ideal, but alas, we don't have that. And so there's no sense in hoping. And instead of going face, we're going to be going for Vivian because they're able to block one of them but not the other. Because Feasting Troll King does not have reach, nor does the Lovestruck Beast. So they have 1 reach creature, and they are going to block, which doesn't really accomplish anything here. If I were in their position, I would let both get through. Because by letting both through, it deals 10 damage to a Planeswalker that can only take 5. So it doesn't hurt to do that. And then they just turned into a food. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But there we go. Vivian's gone, which means that all the reach creatures are going to stop coming out unless they top deck another Vivian, which there's nothing we can do against that. Actually, the worst case scenario is they top deck another creature that can draw them cards with the Great Henge. Yeah, Great Henge is doing its thing. It's pretty darn good. Ooh, Wicked Wolf. That is problematic. That is very problematic, because that is a very good card. It's going after one of my demons. Definitely going after one of the demons. That is the right call. Yep, and they eat a little bit of food. Ooh, they made a critical error there. Unless they have another land in hand, which they might, to be fair. So what they did there was they paid the 1 for Trail of Crumbs to dig through their hand. Now what they didn't do is leave enough mana back to eat one of their foods. And they don't have any flying blockers. We have 10 damage in the air. Dang it, they had the forest in hand. Nuts. All right, so they're able to eat some food and survive. Actually, they might win this game, which would be pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. I would be bummed. I would be mildly bummed. Except for the mildly part, I'd actually be like uber bummed. All right, opponent. Fair enough. Ooh. All right. So here's what's going to happen next turn. I'm going to escape this Mogus's Favor and put it on this Acquisitions Expert, making them a 3/1 menace. And we can let 2 of the Call of the Death Dwellers go because we have no way of recurring those out of our graveyard, so I'm not too worried about it. So that right there is a menace. All right, and so we are going to go ahead and attack with all. Actually, we're going to attack with all. So what they're going to have to do, this forces their hand, they have to block the Acquisitions Expert with both because of the Menace counter. But because it has Death Touch, it's going to kill both the Feasting Troll King and the Lovestruck Beast. Yeah, they have to do that. They don't have a choice. Now, they can sacrifice one of them to the Witch's Oven to get 2 food tokens, but either way, they're going to die. And that's really what it's all about, you know, because it's only going to mark 1 damage on each of them. Get them down to 1. Get rid of 2 of their big threats. That felt pretty good, not going to lie. Now, they have another Feasting Troll King in hand, which could be pretty darn good for them here. Let's see, what else do we have in the graveyard? We have another Acquisitions Expert. We're out of Archfiend's Vessels in there, but that's okay. Yeah, it's an 8/7 Feasting Troll King. That's pretty good. There's a lot you can do with that. And they have access to 4 mana, 5 mana now. And 3 food, so they can sacrifice that to bring one of the other Troll Kings out. Yeah, that's actually not bad. And that gives them access to enough damage, but the problem is they still don't have enough flying blockers to deal with what I'm bringing. Thunder Mammoth, it's a good card, doesn't really impact this game much, except for being another... Ooh, Kagla, however. Kagla could do some cool things. And Kagla, despite fighting aerial creatures, does not have reach, which is very, very good. And when I say fighting aerial creatures, I refer to the artwork. I think we got there, but this was a heck of a match. Yes! All right. Our opponent had a lot of good value there. All right, so Soul Shatter is for sure coming in for those giants. Let's see, what else do we have? We could pull in Deadweight for the goose. Yeah, focus on the geese. What would we pull out for those? Let's go ahead and get rid of the tomes. We can go down by 1 off consumption. It's probably not going to do much for us in this matchup. Go down by 1 Mokus's favor. Let's make it 3 Deadweights. As you can see, I kind of just freestyle my sideboarding. And then let's lose a Meyer's Grasp in favor of the Deadweight. Actually, no. Meyer's Grasp is really good. Although, in this matchup, what can we hit with a Meyer's Grasp that we can't hit? Well, he let me know that he has Kazundu Mammoth in there. And Kazundu Mammoth can die to a Meyer's Grasp, and it will survive a Deadweight. So let's go ahead and keep the Meyer's Grasp in. Okay. But otherwise, you know, the Deadweight gets rid of the Goose. It gets rid of the 1/1 tokens from Lovestruck Beast. And, well, what else do we have? I mean, we're dealing with the Wicked Wolf. We're going to need to stack Orazon if we're going to do anything there. But also, we were able to do all of this without Lurrus. Like, that whole game, we were able to succeed without getting Lurrus online. So that's pretty cool. Like, we don't need Lurrus in order to be successful. And come to think of it, I don't think we had our Hateful Eidolon online either. We just had some crazy Arcfiend's Vessel action, and it worked. It worked quite well, if I do say so. Yeah, between Arcfiend's Vessel and Meyer Triton, the value you can get is pretty impressive. And I enjoy it very, very much, let me tell you what. All right, game 2, here we go. We have Skyclave Shade and a Soul Shatter in the opening hand. That seems pretty good to me. Not to mention the Acquisitions Expert is going to be able to do some fun things for us. So I say we keep this. Castle Lockthwain. I am so glad the castles aren't legendary, which flavorfully makes no sense, but from a game perspective, it makes them playable, which is really nice. You know, and I say that because they are specific. They're specific areas within the world, so they should presumably be legendary. But at the same time, one of the big things about them is the lack of the opportunity cost for playing them is very, very low, because in a lot of cases they function similarly to just a basic land, which is exactly what you want. Kazundu Mammoth, that's pretty good. Can't argue with that. I mean, I could Soul Shatter it, but let's instead Acquisitions Expert. Yeah, I'm going to save the Soul Shatter, because we have the Hateful Eidolon and a Meyer's Grasp would deal with the Kazundu Mammoth. That might also block the Skyclave Shade, which would be pretty rad. To a point where I probably should have saved the land drop until the post-combat main phase so I could bring the Skyclave Shade back if they do choose to block it. Because Kazundu Mammoth is far more aggressive than defensive. And you know what? I'm actually going to keep Malakir Rebirth mana back. Just in case. More for the block than the attack, actually. Because Skyclave Shade can bring itself back. So I'm hesitant to use a Malakir Rebirth on it. I'm cool with that. So let's go ahead and throw the Hateful Eidolon down. Alright, we got rid of the Kazundu Mammoth. That feels pretty good. We have a land in hand, so we'll be able to pull the Skyclave Shade back next turn. The Scooze! Scavenging Ooze is very good. So we will not be able to pull the Skyclave Shade back next turn. My bad. Except how did I know that that was going to happen? I sure didn't. Now that is worth Soul Shattering. Right there. That is very much worth Soul Shattering, because that is a big Scavenging Ooze, and it's going to only get bigger. So let's go ahead and just get that sucker gone right now. Get her gone. And let's swing out, get a little bit of lifelink. There we go. And at this point, both of us are running low on cards. Crawling Barons is potentially problematic, but what's even more problematic is the Wicked Wolf. They're going to go after the Hateful Eidolon, I guarantee it. It'd be silly of them not to. Alright, and so in this case, I'm going to Village Rites our Hateful Eidolon. Farewell, my friend. It's been a pleasure. Had they gone after the Acquisitions Expert, I would have hit Malakir Rebirth on it instead. But actually, next turn, I'm probably going to hit Malakir Rebirth and then a Village Rites on the Acquisitions Expert anyway. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because our opponent's down to 1 card in hand, and if we can restrict that resource while getting more cards in our hand, we're going to be in much better shape. I mean, better shape than what, you ask? Well, better shape than we would be if we didn't do this. And just in good shape in general. Ooh, get another Wicked Wolf out of there. That was... Okay, I feel vindicated. That was the right call. Ooh, and we have an opportunity to Soul Shatter the Wicked Wolf that they do have. Oh my. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to get rid of that wolf. All right, so just like that, we have controlled their board, gotten it down, and you can make it indestructible, my friend. It does not matter. It is a sacrifice, not a destroy. Now, if you want to use it to eat some food and dig a little bit with Trail of Crumbs, that wouldn't be a bad call, but just know that you would still lose the wolf. Oh, and they drew a wolf. No! Bummer, yo. So we've answered 2 Wicked Wolves, and they drew a third. Sometimes these things happen, and what can you do about it? The correct answer is nothing, but that's okay. Meyer Triton, I choose you. And Lurrus of the Dream Den, you are now coming into the hand. All right, let's do that. And we've got Malakir Rebirth mana back up, so if they do attack with the Wicked Wolf, we can keep our Meyer Triton around, even after it takes down their wolf. Or their Crawling Barrens, if they choose to animate it and swing in with that. Because I got to be honest, if I have an opportunity to kill a Crawling Barrens, I'm going to take it, because that is going to get out of hand. It's going to get out of hand fast. Do you attack, opponent? Into a Death Toucher. Because you could tell I was holding priority there. But you probably think I have a Village Rites. But I don't have a Village Rites. I have a Malakir Rebirth. Block 2 Damage. Alright. So Wicked Wolf survives. But so does my Meyer Triton. I lose 2 life, but that's not... That is far from the end of the world. Ooh, bring the Kazundu Mammoth to hand. Alright, fair enough. Good thing I'm going to be able to pull Lurrus next turn, followed by an Acquisitions Expert, and get rid of that Kazundu Mammoth in hand. Or I can just cast out an Acquisitions Expert from my hand. That's an option, too. Let's get rid of that Kazundu Mammoth, shall we? Let's shall. Get it gone. Get it gone. Alright, what do we got here? Let's bring out this Skyclave Shade. Ching! And we'll punch for 2, because I feel like it. Because I can take a hit from a Wicked Wolf this turn and not feel bad about it in the slightest. So the one thing that I see right now is our opponent does not have any food generators online. That is great, because they have all their food payoffs without any of the actual generators. So they are effectively out of gas here, which seems pretty nice to me. All right, so the Crawling Barrens is coming alive, presumably, or they're just going to load it up, which is fine. We're still at 21 life. So even if they were to swing in with both the Crawling Barrens and the Wicked Wolf, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Although they know that if they swing in, I can block with the Acquisitions Expert and pull it out with Lurrus of the Dream Den. So they have to use every single card as it comes into their hand at this point. And that's delightful. That's a nice situation to be in, if you ask me. All right, cool. Let's bring out another Meyer Triton. Let's attack with the Meyer Triton and the Skyclave Shade. Keep the Acquisitions Expert back to do that block shenanigans that we were talking about. That's exactly what I was hoping you would do, opponent, believe it or not. Because I have a land in hand, which means I can do this and bring out the Skyclave Shade, kicked. Boom. So you just grew my Skyclave Shade. Thank you for that. I'm feeling pretty good about our situation here. And our opponent's in top deck mode, which is always nice. It's always nice to have an opponent in top deck mode. All right, Great Henge is a really good value engine, plus it's going to gain him life. That is a problem for us. That is a very real problem, but that's okay. We'll work around it, because again, they don't have any food generators out right now, which means that Wicked Wolf, if the Wicked Wolf takes on the Skyclave Shade in combat, they trade. Which is a pretty good spot to be in. Not to mention we have Castle Lockthwain down, and we'll be able to use it. A Hateful Eidolon, followed by a Mogus's Favor on their Tangled Florahedron, which means we draw a card. I'm not as worried about killing their Florahedron. And let's go ahead and escape the Mogus's Favor onto our Skyclave Shade, and let's go bananas on this guy. All right, so we'll We'll escape 2 Village Rites because those are cards we're not going to use from our graveyard. That's a 7-2. That's a 7-2 that is coming on in. And both Meyer Tritons, because why not? Got him! Yeah. You love to see it. So we got the value engine going. They couldn't keep up. Feels good. All right, Ed Wizardo, let's do this. Game 3, we are 2-0 so far. Let's see if we can go undefeated with this thing. Not a bad opening hand, not great either, but at the same time, if our opponent is running kill spells and they're able to, if they take out both the Archfiend's Vessel and the Acquisitions Expert, Call of the Death Dweller is a really great follow-up. Worst case scenario, we pull Lurrus into our hand on turn 3 and not be mad about it. You know, turn 1 Archfiend's Vessel, turn 2 Acquisitions Expert, followed by a turn 3 Lurrus to hand. Could be a lot worse. And, like I said, if our opponent is able to kill both the Archfiend's Vessel and the Acquisitions Expert on their turn 2 or turn 3, then we have Call of the Death Dweller up, which is lovely. Yeah, and the Archfiend's Vessel feeding into Acquisitions Expert gives us some opportunity to pick a little bit of what cards our opponent discards, which is pretty good. We're going to get some intel on what they're running. And apparently, that was scary for our opponent. So we have no intel on what they're running. Absolutely not. So they have a pretty good idea what we're doing. We have zero clue what they're doing, aside from the fact that they're in green. So they could be running Gruul. They could be running like a Sultai control list. They could be running mono green Stompy, mono green Food. I have no idea. They could be absolutely anything. So we're not really going to get an opportunity to sideboard, which is a mild bummer, but not the end of the world. All right, and so that opening was scary for our opponent. If we had a second land, this thing would be fire. But since we don't, although we are on the draw. Nope, not going to do it. I'm having to think about it. Okay, Malakir Rebirth functions as a land. This is much better. All right, I wish we had a Hateful Eidolon in this hand, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm not going to be mad. So since we do know that they're running green, they probably are running creatures. So I'm going to go ahead and keep Meyer's Grasp and let the Meyer Triton go. Either way, we're going to be in the mire. Instead, we are going to go ahead and play out a Malakir Rebirth as a land on turn 1. And then on turn 2, we're going to play out the Archfiend's Vessel and have Malakir Rebirth mana back just in case. Or we can play out Skyclave Shade at that point. Ooh. They're running red as well, so we're probably on Gruul. Ooh, but wait. We have 2 swamps now. Excellent. You love to see it. That means we can do Archfiend's Vessel on 1 and Skyclave Shade on 2. Excellent. Brushfire Elemental. Not surprised. They're on Gruul. If only that was a Hateful Eidolon. So, oh, hey. Buddy, where have you been? All right. So Skyclave Shade on 2. I'm debating on whether or not that was wise and whether or not I should have played the Hateful Eidolon there. I'm hoping we top deck into a swamp next turn. That way we can cast out the Hateful Eidolon and hit the Brushfire Elemental with a Meyer's Grasp. They could also play out a Kazundu Mammoth on this turn, which would be a better target for the Meyer's Grasp than the Brushfire Elemental. Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher Giant's just a good card. I can't be mad. Ooh, now do we hit the Brushfire Elemental or do we hit the Edgewell Innkeeper? Let's see. Pulling out the Skyclave Shade is tempting. But in the end, they're down to 2 cards in hand. They have the Bone Crusher back. I want to restrict their card draw. That's my thinking there. And Archfiend's Vessel can't block the Brushfire Elemental anyway, so he might as well swing. He could block Kazundu Mammoth, though, or the Bone Crusher Giant. So what we'll be able to do is keep the Archfiend's Vessel back. Okay, so now we have the Kazundu Mammoth, which fortunately is not hasty. Because don't be hasty. And let's go ahead and throw out the Acquisitions Expert. Get rid of that 1 card. Ooh, getting rid of the Fabled Passage in their hand. That felt really good. That is a very good card for them. All right, and we're going to keep the Malakir Rebirth back. So they still have... Oh, they just top decked a Fabled Passage. No! I hate it when that happens. All right, so they're going to swing out. in all likelihood. And then we're going to block the Kazundu Mammoth with the Archfiend's Vessel and hit it with the Malakir Rebirth so we get our demon. That Brushfire Elemental, though, is going to come in unchecked because it has that quasi-trample where it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I say quasi-trample just because in this matchup it's actually strictly better than trample. Yep, for sure doing that, and then for sure doing this. Ow, my face. Don't appreciate this pain to my face. Ching ching, ching ching, ching ching. Acquisitions Expert, so we can get rid of that last thing in their hand. Another Fabled Passage, perhaps? Ooh, no, the Acrone War, even better. All right. Boom, baby. All right, so the race is on. Now, we've already got one game on them because they conceded game 1. So let's see if we're able to close it out on game 2. And that Bonder's Enclave is actually a really valuable card for them here. With that Kazundu Mammoth, they're able to get quite a bit of value out of it. Now, what they don't know is I have another Malakir Rebirth in hand for that Acquisitions Expert to strip that last card out of their hand. Yeah, about to say, attack with the Brushfire Elemental. There's no reason not to. Alright, we're going to take 2 damage, which feels real bad. It feels real bad, but the Acquisitions Expert's going to come back in, strip that last land out of their hand. Not mad at that. Do we have any creatures in the bin? We have the Skyclave Shade. Got to bring out Skyclave Shade. It's got Menace and whatnot. We're going to keep one Acquisitions Expert back to block the Kazundu Mammoth so that we don't die like immediately. We'll only probably die. So let's see. If they top decked into something like a Fabled Passage, we'd be in really rough shape. It looks like they didn't get a land, otherwise they probably would have just like windmill slammed that sucker onto the table. So they could bring out the Bonecrusher Giant. Blocking the Mammoth. Don't have any trickery this time, except I do have a Call of the Death Dweller in my hand, but you don't know that opponent. Let's see what happens here. Rimrock Knight. That was an oops. They should have buffed the. Oh no! But then they're able to hit the Bonder's Enclave. All right. Respect opponent. I see what you're doing there. They're digging for an answer, and I don't think. Yeah, they didn't find it. We got them. All right. So this deck is undefeated in these 3 matchups, which is pretty good. So that was delightful. Not gonna lie. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed those matchups. This is the Lurrus of the Dream Den Hateful Eidolon deck. And yeah, so 3-0 today. Feeling pretty good about that. It was truly delightful. Hope you had a good time. You can check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/hamhawks42. I'm also on 2 podcasts. One, the Overthinking MTG podcast. It's my solo podcast where we talk about random cards and spoilers for about 10 minutes apiece. And then I'm also on the Planes Talk podcast, which I am doing with my buddy Jack, which is available anywhere you get your podcasts. So thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you. And don't forget, you are a good person, and you deserve to be happy.